Okay. Okay, so thank you for joining me today. And today I'm going to share with you some news. And I really enjoy today's news because it talks about a very interesting term called MaaS, Metaverse as a Service. Before we said that software as a service, and we call it SaaS, right? Now it become MaaS. So let's dive in and see what's this. So pretty much we all know that in Web 2, it's pretty much, we know how to do it because, we create a software on the internet or, we create a software the web, like the browser, right? And then pretty much you can access it just by our normal device, such as phone, right? And desktop and tablet, right? We can access SaaS. However, Metaverse is, yeah, I don't know, it's already kind of there a few years ago, but now it becomes, a buzzword because people have confidence that in the future we will all live there for the second life, right? So think about how can this leverage our brand, leverage our digital life. So yeah, so I really like this articles. In this article, it talks about how gamification access to Web3, and it if you go to this article, let me share with you the article's title is called Metaverse as Service will be the basis of the next internet era of Web3. And this article is on cointelegraph.com. And the writer's name is called Sandra Helu. So yeah, so basically in this article, it talks about the chart. It also has a chart. It's called General Model for Blockchain Game Economy. So in this charts, you can clearly see that game developers after game developers develop games, right? It can definitely get the revenue, right? But the game developers will give the rights for the governance staking, which is, I would say, because in Web3, right, everything is decentralized. So there's a group of people that can govern the entire community. So the game developers will give the rights to that government system and then also give them tokens, right? So pretty much game developer is the person who create this world, and later on they will get some revenues, right? However, or start creating some game objects to enhance the world, but that's it, right? The government or the control will be give to people, so people will govern itself, right? And the guidelines, people will leverage what's the guideline that it has to have. And also it has community treasury, which is very interesting. It's like IRS, right? A little IRS inside the community. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting, and I feel like this game becomes its own state or its own country. Or think about that. Each game, right? Game developer is pretty much construct the virtual world or virtual platform, right? And then virtual people live there, and they have their own system, governor, and they have their own treasury, right? Yeah, this is exciting. It's like, if you don't like to live in certain country, you can move to other country without, long list of waiting for a visa, right? You can, go to another governments, right? So, and enjoy different guidelines. So I think this is a very interesting migration. And MaaS, MaaS. So a MaaS platform will really help people to get more immersive experience. Think about the website, right? Or the Web 2. Pretty much if it help us to gap between the physical location or physical needs, and also help us to provide a lot of service for us. However, mass will be even more powerful, right? It will kind of has another layers of physical location, and then kind of like digital twins of the physical location, and provide us even more than Web 2. So yeah, so I personally looking forward to it. And then yeah, so any thoughts, comments, feel free to unmute yourself and feel free to share. Yeah.
Yeah, Dom, I like it. This mass. I'm pretty familiar with like in cloud computing, there is a PaaS, like platform as a service, then SaaS, software as a service, and there are many actually other as well, like software as a, I mean, SaaS, I mean, it is similar to that, you know, like PaaS and like SaaS, and now it's a mass. So that's really amazing. But yeah, Dom, I have a question about Web3. Uh, that's the new internet era. So I am curious, like how it is work actually. Do you explain me? That will be really, really very helpful for me. I just want to understand myself. I mean, that terms like Web3, how it works and how it is. Like, what is that?
Yeah, very interesting. Because for me, I personally think that concept comes first, right? And then the concept, and then people start executing it. And mass, this word is today, this morning, I saw it. So I believe some people will trying to get the concept and trying to make something and trying to make it. But I think it will be, for example, I make an app before it will operate on the phone, but now it will operate
Yeah.
in VR, like, VR games, right?
Okay.
VR games, but that VR thing can live on its own. And around it's probably like currently like a Fortnite, right? It's right now, I would say kind of in between, because Fortnite has a lot of revolutions integrate with like, NFT and trying to bring the entire thing to Web3. So maybe you see like the sandbox, right? They are trying to bring those, right? And then I would say in the future, probably it's not hopping from app to app. For example, right now, if I want to call Uber, I go to my phone and click Uber app, right?
Yes.
But in the future, probably it's, for example, in the sandbox, I want to get a pizza, right? Maybe there's something, right? Maybe there's a, I don't know, AI, I don't know, servant next to me, and I just tell them that, hey, I want to call a pizza, and then deliver to my home or something. I don't know. I couldn't even imagine it, but it's in the virtual world, but there's a software. But I think that software should be so not software look, an icon or, a button or something. It just so naturally, if you want something and it belongs to a certain a software, but you just naturally get it, right? For example, I want to buy a shoes, right? And I go to a shoe store. I don't know, it's just my guessing. And then I just go to that shoe store, for example, Nike. And actually Nike, probably that, house in the digital place itself, it's a software, right? I do think that, maybe all the software becomes 3D model, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And you couldn't even tell what does, like, software, we know that right now everything is flat. There's an icon, you click, and there's a hierarchy of things, and you just need to follow, the buttons, the windows, right? But imagine it becomes a real world, and all the text, all the videos, all the audios becomes real humans talking to you. And I don't know, like I couldn't even imagine that becomes a software, right? So yeah, so you kind of probably don't even feel that is a software, and it's a software. Maybe I have no idea. Yeah.
I think Web3 is like taking place of WWW, like World Wide Web. And the best example, I think we can say, then I think Siri is the best example, because it's using the voice recognition technology. So I think under the Web3, I don't know, but I mean, maybe, yeah. And that things actually, whenever we will be in, let's say, for example, in metaverse world, we are not typing anything there. We are just only there. We are asking there. And then after any, as you mentioned about like any robot or any system, which will give you the response whenever you need any pizza, then you can say, hey, I need this pizza, I need this cheese or chicken or this toppings, and it will capture your voice, and then after they will deliver you. So maybe this is going on over the web, and that is called, I think, web 3, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, you can even choose like the real world and virtual world. For example, like, hey, deliver a pizza to my real home.
Yes.
And also deliver to my metaverse home or something, right?
Yeah.
So maybe, or there's a certain handwear device or something, and you can tap between, hey, I want this to deliver to my actual home or something, and everything will sync so well that you don't even feel that something has a gap. For example, right now, if I want to order something, I need to, press something, a button on my phone, right? Or swap the tabs. And each tabs, they are not relative to each other. Maybe in the future, everything will integrate so well that you don't even feel there's an app. Yeah, like app, this concept will be merged into the real world. And right now it's just weird that, oh, I want to get a taxi, I need to put a button, and I want to find a restaurant, I need to tap Yelp, right? I need to tap another button, and everything is different. Maybe, everything comes to you. Like before I read a book, it's called, I still don't know, maybe it's wrong, but it's very interesting. It talks about general relatives. And somebody is trying to explain what general relatives is, but maybe I was wrong because I read it when I was in high school, pretty much like super long time ago. And then it talks about, if you were a baby, you will totally, if you are putting into that types of world, and you will totally get it. For example, like if you want to get a cake, and that cake will come to you instead of you go to a cake store and get a cake. It's like that. It's like whatever you kind of wanted, and something just go towards you instead of you go to some people, some stuff. So maybe in this world is that you want something, and some device will already know you want something. They know you so well, which is very scary as well. And then it's effortless that you just can get it immediately, which is very scary as well. And you can, once you take off, the headset, maybe, everything just deliver right now, right? Like maybe, I don't know, Amazon straw, right? Just fly next to you, and you just take off the headset, or there's, the headset maybe is a glass, I don't know, it's like my glass, right? And you go out and you got your pizza, and Amazon, like a lot of drones flying, right? Very busy, deliver stuff. And maybe when you walk on the street, and maybe there's a pizza drop off or something. I don't know, no idea. Yeah, so yeah, I still don't know, but it's very interesting that there is a term called mass. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Dan?
No, I'm just listening and thinking about things, but no, I don't really have.
No worries. Sorry to call you out. It's just like I don't want to, like two of us, we take too much time, and you want to say something and you don't have a chance. So no worries.
I know. And sometimes I was thinking about what I would say, and have I said something like that before? And I'm like thinking about my own opinions about issues.
No worries. I know sometimes we just have more time. Okay, that's fine. We have a lot of news. Another one is called Metaverse moderation. And this news is on Slack.com. The title is called "I Was a Browser in Metaverse," which is very interesting. And then by this article was written by Aaron Mark. So in this article, it talks about, yeah, I mean, there are some small cases right now, but in the future, it might be a lot of cases. But because right now, this is kind of the, metaverse, the beginning phase of people trying to build metaverse, right? And people start, being there, and then some people got harassed, for example, in all space, right? In all space, a woman reported that there was a man kind of robbing her, or jumping her, just like a rob her face or something, and she felt uncomfortable, right? And also, like some other places, there are also some women, because if you show your woman avatar, right, and people might target it, and they might feel like, oh, it's fun, yeah, and it's not real. So, and there is not rules to guide those people, right? So for example, in educators in VR, L'Oreal, right, she mentioned that, yeah, people just even do a lot of appropriate stuff and go to stage and start doing something, right? So before I do go to some different VR meetings, and then sometimes if somebody talk to me too close, I would try to stay back and feel like, because I understand that people probably are not familiar with the distance and everything, and sometimes people use 2D platform or 3D, or and it's a little hard to control, because if you are not wear VR headset, you just use your keyboard, you might not even feel that you are too close to somebody, right? Because you are not in there. So yeah, and I remember Athena, before, one of our speakers, she mentioned that behind every avatar, there's a soul. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's not a fake doll, right? Or a 3D interesting characters, and there's a soul inside, right? And we need to show the respect, right? So yeah, I think it's very interesting that maybe in the future, all the event or places, they will hire a bouncer, or a person who guide, or to kind of manage, or a police, right, a security guy, to help maintain the safety of the place. So yeah, so this is still people still figuring out how to make a safe place for people to hang around. So any thoughts, comments for the news? Cool. Awesome. So yeah,
No, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking. Sorry.
no worries.
Yeah.
I know there are so many stuff to digest. Yeah, and I can tell you sometimes, because there are so many buttons, and the controller button and some buttons, and sometimes I don't know. I remember the first time when I joined a meeting in Allspace, I accidentally create a porter and destroy the entire meeting, and I got banned. And later on, I apologized to the organizer and speakers and say, sorry, I don't even know what I have done, and it seems I created a portal and then dismiss the entire meeting. And that meeting had like 100 or a lot of people. It's a big meeting. just mess it up. Yeah, but I mean, maybe there are some disable buttons that if people just want to poke around the buttons, and they won't accidentally dismiss the entire meetings. So maybe some some interface design we need to take consideration, not for audience to dismiss the meeting, or maybe there's a confirm button, right? Are you sure you want to create this da 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 da, right? And make sure people kind of double confirm, instead of just click it and the entire meeting just dismissed. I feel sorry. Yeah. So yeah. So any thoughts?
I'm just wondering, like, with your virtual bouncer and the fact that people, how much interaction do you want from the people who are around you? Like, when you're at a concert, do you really want interaction of the people who are around you? You rarely do, but it's social, but it's actually not. It's social with the 2 or 3 people that you're standing with in this larger group or something. And I'm wondering if there's going to end up being kind of, wide open, access, and you have almost different states where this person can be talked to, this person can talk to a couple of people within their little group, and then these people are zombies that you can't talk to because they're watching the concert, or what I mean. It's like all of these kind of virtual environments, myself included. I may very well want to be in that space, but have no interaction whatsoever with anyone else that's there, even though it is a group thing full of people there. But this is also a theatrical experience of like when you go to a group, you're having a personal experience within a group, and it's wondering that it's like, well, I wonder if you're going to end up with your avatar having different flags going, I don't want to be talked to, or I want to talk to the people in my chat group, or I'm okay to talk with everybody, but you may end up needing all of those 3 different things in one place for any of these kind of activities to really work very well, because any one person who prefers one and gets the other experience is just going to be put off.
Yeah, I think there's an app or a game. It's called Echo VR. You can pretty much use ghost mode, which means that nobody can see you, right? But you are there, and nobody will talk to you. And once you become a real, visually kind of show up, right? There's a person there versus there's no person and nobody can see you, and you can see everybody.
But if you think of like how many people who are in Facebook groups and who read but don't contribute, or something of that nature,
but because they are not there. Imagine there are a bunch of people just sit there, and sometimes somebody will say, hey, nice shoes. And if you didn't say anything, it's kind of weird. It's just like if you kind of not showing up, for example, if you're scrolling, right, and people in the group, they are not physically there, kind of, right? They are not 3D represent themselves
their
there.
avatars are sitting there 2-dimensionally in a little row over there, aren't they? Now they're not saying anything, they're not doing anything, but they have
they
a
are
presence.
Not in front of you.
Maybe they are.
It's I mean, but when you scroll, right, and you kind of didn't even see them when you scroll up, right?
Right, but I think we're actually identifying an actual issue, which is that those silent people that you're scrolling by are souls. They may not want to talk, but they're in that space with you.
I think
and whereas you just like scrolled by them on a Facebook feed. Well, in this situation, they're 3-dimensional and in this room with you, So,
but it confined by this one, and you couldn't even talk, and you need to message it, right? And I feel like in-person experience and versus the web 2D information architecture, this types of experience is different, right?
But I think it's interesting when it crosses over, though, because like so many people who would attend any kind of event are not necessarily, using their mouses to walk around and look in things. There's so many like virtual events for corporations where they are basically fake tables sitting watching a fake award show or something like that, where it's very much that we're all in this kind of virtual ballroom and we're all watching a presentation together, and each one has been grouped at tables of 10, in kind of subgroups, so that you could have little chats within your group, within the larger room.
I would say
a lot of virtual events set up that way.
Think about Zoom, right? Zoom, right now we're using Zoom becomes a metaverse. There will be people who doesn't want to talk, there will be
Right.
people who want to interact. And sometimes you just couldn't help. You just want to, sometimes you just don't want to talk. Sometimes you want to talk, right?
And that theater view of Zoom where you've got all those heads sitting in chairs, right? You know, and they're all sitting in this virtual audience. You know, that example of all of those people there who may want to chat with each other, but they're really watching something together.
Yeah.
You know, how much privacy do each of those people want? You know, so do they have subgroups within that larger community, or, you know, is it really all a free for all of all those people talking to each other? You know, I look at a lot of these things where I'm a very private person. It's like I watch, I'm a very visual person, and I don't necessarily take up conversations very quickly, except for this meetup group.
Thank you so much. Like this
Very well.
meetup is exceptional.
It's a very different. I don't have Facebook. I don't have much else, but I do this. So
yeah, cool. Thank you for joining. This is an honor. Actually.
One comment I would love to, and one question for Dan and Dom, both of you. Let's say we are in, like, let's say in theater, we all are watching the movie, and then I mean, if some people are really interested to interact, or they wanted to talk, or they wanted to chat, right? In that case, I mean, set up something like sub types of, or let's say sub room or sub theater in theater,
right.
which we will access. We will give the access to people who are interested, and they will send us the request. We will accept that, and only for those people can meet at in there, and then they can interact. So it will be
Right. I
useful.
guess we'll call it breakout rooms. Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
breakout
that's
room.
the perfect word. Breakout room. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think in all space you can have a kind of like a breakout room, you know, like portal. Before I use like a portal, kind of teleport everyone to another room with me, and which dismiss the entire meeting. But in all space you can kind of select people, and you can, you know, pick person and to teleport a few of you and talk.
And I believe I've read somewhere saying that Meta and MS Teams are basically creating that, which are these kind of virtual breakout rooms and these meeting rooms that could be created in any kind of thematic metaverse style, so that you could have your Apple store or whatever and break out your room at the Genius Bar, or, you know, that kind of three-dimensional meeting space.
Yeah. And I, to be honest with you, I really want to host this event in Metaverse. However, it's so hard to record. It's just the video thing, because I really think that I think recording a video as a digital asset for people to consume later is very important. I believe in live event, but I think if we can record it, and later on, if, for example, like this meeting, right, or the later meeting, which is speaker event, I usually, sometimes if I want to find something, I usually go back to the video and do it as a reference. So I feel like I'm writing a journal, right? Every Saturdays, just to document what I've learned, right? So this types of event, it's great, right? But if the camera, right? If I can, you know, go there, hosting event, and there's a camera set, right? I can put camera set, and I can later on record and, you know, publish somewhere that I really need. Now, I would love to host events in Metaverse, to be honest with you. It's just I have to find another person to do, you know, the recording stuff, and it's just not convenient. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So this one and another one, yeah, the same thing, which is how can we, you know, put the you know, the rules inside Metaverse, because there are so many. For example, like right now there's like a personal boundary feature, or, you know, like there are some, you know, ghost mode issues, right? So that, yeah, so it's very interesting to talk about how can we set up rules for people to, to enjoy the entire experience instead of feeling uncomfortable by some certain people. Yeah. Any thoughts? I mean, yeah, it's kind of like a, I would say top level one. It's like people are trying to find and the rules for it. Okay, so another one is the metaverse put the digital asset interoperability challenge on stereos. So this is like an interesting topic as well. For example, how can we take our assets from this metaverse to the next metaverse, right? How can everything come up as a one thing, even though, there are so many different metaverse, and how can we came across each different metaverse? Yeah. So pretty much it's like that, right? It's like, I think the question is still the same. But I remember one of our speakers says that you don't have to figure everything out right now, because before, when Web 2 just launched, right? Nobody really trying to predict that it will become today's, right? Web 2, right? It's so convenient, like Amazon, right? From, it's the entire experience, from physical experience to virtual experience, which is on the website. You order stuff, right? And you can get stuff, right? And if you didn't get your stuff, you call, right? And, and you get stuff right away, right? So this types of seamless experience, it's when at the beginning, we didn't even think of that. I think we will have to build it, test it out, and find a problem and solve it. And eventually everything will come into one. So yeah. So yeah, any thoughts, comments for all the, kind of like the creation, people are trying to figure it out, like how can, all the metaverse or all the different stuff can come along together.
I was thinking privacy is the most important thing, right? I think, and I was seeing threats like of hacking, so that we think we should be strong in cybersecurity maybe. So whenever people are investing their money or like that NFT, like non-fungible tokens,
Yeah.
so that they can secure their money or that digital currency, and that kind of thing. So I think so privacy and that kind of strong strategies in cybersecurity will be very, very helpful to grow this business like metaverse.
Yeah. I think NFT and also blockchain, AI, XR, and I remember there are like 5 pillars. Yeah, anyway, but all those stuff will integrate and slowly will integrate better, because right now we're still building, right? And it reminds me of my first French class. I went there and my teacher just taught us all the alphabet. And I was trying to ask all the questions like for 1 hour. And she just said, Dom, all you need to do is just, follow the step, right? And eventually, after a few years, you will understand why. Because the first 1 hour class, I was trying to figure out the entire language, and it's impossible. Sometimes things takes time, right? So yeah.
I think what we're seeing also is like, even in our own discussions about metaverse, virtual real estate and things like that we've been talking about in the last like few months or something, our own disbelief about some of these things are in real time, and like our own like the metaverse is in fact like changing right now.
Yeah, right.
Because
and it's
we
rocking,
aren't
right?
well, yeah, and it's actually like, no, that's not going to work, and it's kind of, it's in that state of no, that's not good enough, not this, not that.
Mm.
you know, but that's one of those things where something, you know, has some green, you know, shoots when finally something does take root. But, you know, as you were talking about some of these, you know, metaverse places, I started thinking of pets.com, where we had a lot of, you know, .com companies that were like, oh, pets.com. Well, you come here for your pet store because we have pets in the name, and we will beat all the Google searches
Oh, yeah.
because of pets.com. So anyone who ever needs pet food, that's where they'll go, obviously. You know, so some of these things that were very, very like, oh yeah, of course that will work, because, you know, how else will you beat the Google, you know, algorithm with
Yeah.
pets.com?
Yeah.
Well, no, it still makes sense to buy pet food locally because it's too expensive to ship.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
some of these things that are like, well, no, you can still get your chew toys from Amazon. So no, I don't have to go to pets.com. And the dry food still makes sense to pick it up at the local store because no one wants to pay shipping for that big old bag.
Yeah.
You know, so some of this stuff is like the logic of it starts pushing out the bad ideas faster. And I think that's what's happening both in Bitcoin and Metaverse, which is,
Yeah.
okay, we got to push out all the nonsense now.
Yeah,
you know.
right. Yeah. I personally think this is the entrepreneurial stage, which, you know, we are testing things out, right? And
Yeah.
things you see
Well,
like
even the
before,
last 3 months, I've had like 3 different projects that were somewhat metaverse related, and they all just stopped because no, that's not how this is really going to fly. And it's very
yeah.
interesting to kind of watch us say no.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
and you see like before Google AR glass was not working, right? And it kind of paused, right? And
Yeah.
before there were like, I don't know, like some browser which is 3D, I forgot, and 3D phone, right? A lot of, or 3D TV, right? A lot
Yeah.
of stuff like at the beginning people think, oh, this is a cool idea. And I remember I saw there's a phone, it's called gaming phone, and it looks super cool, but I'm wondering who will buy that. Yeah, so a lot of really innovative stuff just coming out, right? And people thought, oh, people need it, right? But the marketing will kind of filter out through all the time and see which one will stay, because the marketing is crucial, right? The reality is cool, right? So it will filter out something that is unnecessary. But I'm still wondering the real estate part. It's just, I don't know. But it seems people use that as the marketing place, display place. I think they might work, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, if you got a hotspot in, I think now I saw a news which is Nike store reached to, I don't know, a few million people visit already after a few months of opening. So imagine that if you have a good hotspot, like you are in Manhattan, or, you know, I don't know, downtown LA or somewhere, right? That everyone, like big traffic, right? It's like you put ads, but your ads is a 3D model living in that really high traffic place, and everyone will come by, right? So maybe you see real estate, right? The most important thing is location, location, location. And if you buy a really hot location spot that everyone will pass by, you know, yeah, LAX, right? If you have something next to, everyone will pass by, you know, that place.
That's interesting. Like now that you've said that, I'm now imagining like the Shinjuku crossing in Tokyo. Like if you're in that location, just
Yeah.
because in the metaverse everyone is crossing by that
Yeah.
location, that's where those posters do all the good work, right?
Yeah, it's like a Times Square, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a store in Times Square or something, it must be really expensive, but you will earn a lot of money just by
Right.
free advertising or something if you own one, right?
But like you saw, there was an article about Google bringing out, updating its Google Maps to basically have an interactive, like sim world style, 3-dimensional,
Yeah.
like it's basically just a big video game kind of crawl around, you know, the entire space. You know, that one, then they're going to start saying no, that, you know, that doesn't mimic reality. So you can't actually go into the storefront and add your storefront in front of the storefront.
Hmm.
You know, you're going to want the actual storefront and the virtual reality of of reality, right? But some of these other ones, the virtual worlds where there's, you know, you could do anything that you like.
Hmm.
I'm trying to understand where one of those virtual worlds that are unlinked to reality,
Hmm.
why would a lot of people cross through it like grandmothers, you know, who aren't playing video games or not putting headsets on, but they had to go to the store, so they drive down a major cross street, you know, to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Interesting to, you know, it sounds to me it's almost like the Amazon stores within Amazon, where you've got
Yeah.
stores within stores. Amazon is the literal river, right? And it's going by all of these trading posts.
Yeah, and imagine if people, for example, like couldn't walk, right? A grandmom couldn't really walk well, but she can use controller to teleport and inside a store and still experience, you know, walking IKEA, right? And maybe
Yeah.
she can lift up a furniture, right? Yeah.
Or see the new lamp on her desk in front of her, you know,
Yeah,
and
and
I think that's
even
to really see the product in front of you and
yeah,
spin it around in your hand. I think that's probably the biggest, you know, the when it mimics the kind of scrolling multiple picture thing on Amazon, right? Where you want to
yeah,
see the bottom, you want to see the
mm,
top, you want to see the other thing. If you had more three-dimensional objects that aren't click and drag with your mouse, but actually, you know, life size and in front of you,
mm,
you know, that would help shopping, I think, you know, quite a bit of
yeah,
how does this lamp look on that table? And,
yeah.
you know, and that's being solved, you know, quite a bit. I just had somebody talking about that the other day of
Mm.
drag and drop furniture is getting used more and more and more.
Yeah. And I think, you know, for example, grandma doesn't have to look the avatar of grandma doesn't have to look like grandma. She can be a young lady, right?
Hmm.
And with, you know, yeah, like, you know, the younger version of herself or, you know, other, you know, imagination characters, right? And she
I'm
can,
literally
yeah,
trying to imagine my own mother going into a three-dimensional world. How would she do it? Why would she do it? How
yeah,
long would she spend there? Because right now, of course, she doesn't. So, you know,
yeah.
if she were to start,
Hmm.
how annoyed would she be by that process? You know,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
for her, I don't
mm,
think she would have much patience for any kind of three-dimensional environment.
yeah.
Like
My
really
mom
just, it's all slower.
refused to put
Yeah.
the VR headset on. She was
Well,
skeptical. Yeah,
yeah, no, I think there's going to be there's going to be several generations that are going to just say, no, I don't play video games and
yeah,
I don't do that.
yeah. My
Um,
mom won't do that. Yeah. But I think metaverse. The interesting thing is that metaverse was meant to design for Gen Z, right? It's not. It's probably like millennials trying to, or you know, like I would say, you know, millennials or, you know, boomers. We are trying to create for Gen Z, and the interesting things is that according to the data or statistics, that American Gen Z young people, teenagers, they are doubt about metaverse and they don't want to go
yeah,
there. It's
yeah.
such a funny thing is that everyone was crazy about it, like old people like me. And the young people, they don't care and they don't want
Well,
to go
and that was
there.
it. And even what you were saying before, it's like, well, all these rules, and we have all these rules about setting up, and how do we maintain these rules, and how do we police all these rules? All my mind kept going is, well, how fast is the pushback before people want to go into real world? You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's easier, it's more comfortable, and we have almost a hippie like,
Mm,
let's just be humans in the real world
mm,
thing. And I think the more that we do this, the more it encourages
mm.
that kind of pushback. And COVID has really held that back.
Yeah, right.
But
I
now,
think
you know,
COVID accelerate the digital
yeah.
transformation.
Now, did you see
Yeah.
the article about the metaverse and I believe it was Coachella and
Oh,
talking about
Coachella.
all of the AR like balloons, and they had all kinds of like floating three-dimensional things that were over the concert.
Mm,
So like if you scanned your phone and you looked up, like
mm,
the the concert designers were
Oh, that's
designing.
amazing.
Yeah, so like you've got your concert stage, right?
Huh.
And people like me design three-dimensional stages.
Hmm.
That three-dimensional model goes to the metaverse, including
Yeah.
the concert. And
Yeah.
now we've got the lighting signals going back and
Hmm.
forth between both of those, the real world
Yeah.
and the real. Well, now they're putting virtual balloons and things to float over the concert,
Hmm.
or things in the sky that are not there,
Hmm.
but they might take place in the metaverse or within your AR, over the
Yeah.
top,
Yeah.
ideas. But
Hmm.
very quickly you're watching what used to be, lighting guys who worked with the artists will know now it's like, Live Nation and really funding larger themed events that are happening, not just this concert, not just this one artist, but this
Hmm.
other macro, concert that is have all the little concerts within it, like the Coachellas, but
Hmm.
in a metaverse sense where you can start doing all kinds of unreal things too.
Yeah, I think right now it seems like the digital world is another mysterious platform or access that we are trying to build, but we still have all our infrastructures in the web 2, right? In another world will be, we still can use all our current device and access to the new world. And how long will we spend in that new world will depend on how well built that new world is, right? So if people skeptical, they just stay there and waiting. But the I don't know who said that. The fortune is in the future. So if you invest in the future, you will get the fortune, right? So if you just sit there and skeptical, once everything was built and you just go there to consume and you couldn't get anything, right? Always either you need to be the first one or be the best one, right? It's
Yeah.
hard to be the best one. The first one is easier, right? You got
Yes.
everyone there, right? So yeah, so it depends. We can always be skeptical about everything, but
I'm not that skeptical. I think the thing is that, like, I've long noticed or long known that a wireframe three-dimensional object is the virtual reality of the actual thing that we do. So any manufacturer makes a three-dimensional model of his motor is related to the motor. And so to me, it's like, well, if you want to go on a journey, you make a map, and we always have these maps. So now we're all talking about what are these maps and how valuable is the map, because it is related to the reality. But for a long time, we only needed maps to relate to the reality. Now we're separating that. So what can we do with the maps? Right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I've always been thinking, it's like, well, it's always been good to focus on maps, because that is the next thing. That is the where we need to go to. You have to describe it by math. So it's going to be three-dimensional objects describing reality.
Yeah, and I feel like it's interesting that I find out people's knowledge requirement are more and more, and everyone needs to unlearn and relearn new things, right?
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yes.
For example, after graduate from Art Center, I'm a graphic designer. I know Photoshop, Illustrator. I'm done. I'm good, right? But you see, right now it becomes UX UI designer becomes new graphic designer, right? So you have to learn all the new knowledges, right? And the next one will be XR. You have to learn 3D. You have to learn a little bit coding, right? And you have to have 3D everything knowledge, and you can code. Before back in 2008, right? It's graphic design, and graphic design is UX UI is become the new graphic design, right?
Yes.
And XR designer will be the new graphic designer or world builder or something. So feel like it requires, before I always tell people that, hey, if you want to get a job, you just know how to use Photoshop, and you can be paid pretty well if you know how to do the fonts arrangement and make for newsletter or posters, right? Now it's like millions of things you have to do, and you probably got paid like 20 years ago, right? Like the same amount, right? So I would say it's more competitive, and we have to fast to implement our knowledge. And yeah, if you have the mindset that, oh, I am the UX UI designer, I am da 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 da, and I am not going to touch da 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 da, feel like let's limit yourself. And you know, I usually refer to, you know, iPhone, right? This year's iPhone will be, you know, cut price for the next year, right? It's the same iPhone, but if this year's iPhone put to next year, it will cut price. How about human? If you didn't grow this year, your price is here, right? And if you didn't grow next year, your price will be cut. So yeah, so that's what I tell people need to constantly learning. And constantly learning, so your price will stay there. If you don't learn, your price will get cut, right? Yeah. So this is, yeah, my 2 cents. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully see you all next week. And we will have another meeting in 5 minutes. So yeah. So yeah, you can, we can, finish this, and hopefully see you all next meeting. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.